A very good afternoon to one and all. Today I'm going to discuss about the future trends in organizational development. This topic is there for you in your fifth unit, the subject organizational development for MBA second year, fourth semester students. In the previous session, we have discussed about uh, politics, power, and politics in organizational development, right? And today, in this session, we are going to discuss what are the future trends in organizational development. And in this, we used to discuss about what are the factors which influence the future of organizational development and what are the various implications of organizational development and also what are the future directions in organizational development. So these are the things that we are going to discuss in today's session. So now let us see in detail about this future of organization development. You can say that the organizational development may be or may not be in future. It may or it may not be in future. But certainly, if there is one perspective is that the manager can take upon the skills and process the OD, organizational development, then the OD professionals may no longer be needed. May no longer be needed. That's why we said that it may or may not be in future. In the same way, if the organizational development professionals they used to continue to operate based on the attempts that is to practice organizational development when they are insufficiently prepared when they are insufficiently prepared and do not have if they do not have the necessary competencies, then also we can lose this organizational development credibility and it will not run for long run. So that is, it will not survive. It also will not survive. Even though we have seen many scenarios that are real possibilities, but still, it is probable that the organizational development will survive as a professional field. It needs to survive as a professional field in future. So there are many changes in the global economy, technology, as well as the nature of workforce. The nature of workforce. So all these changes have brought up various significant implications for the future of organizational development. That is, in future, the organizational development will become a part of the organizational operations. It will become a part of organizational operations. And also, this organizational development skills will be acquired by the employees at every level in the organization. It also will be applied at every level in the organization. So, this organizational development processes will use it will use advanced technology and the duration of organizational development interventions also will be reduced. So it uses advanced technology and the duration of organizational development interventions also will be come down, that it will be reduced. So the main organizational development, it used to focus on learning and innovation. The main concentration is it used to focus mainly on learning and innovation as well as the interdisciplinary nature. All these should be increased. So the main concentration will be probably on these aspects. Okay, as the organizational development practitioners, they have to work with different client organizations and also the cross-cultural teams. It has to work with different client organizations as well as it needs to work with cross-cultural teams. So they need to develop a required competency. It is better. It is the organizational development needs to develop a required competencies. So prior to that, uh, solving a value dilemma in the modern organizations, the organizational development practitioners, what they used to do is they used to resolve these dilemmas within themselves, and they mainly focus on the organizational development interventions. Okay, so this is about the future, how it is going to be in the organizations. And also, there are several factors which try to influence the future of organization development. So, according to Cummins and Worley, they have described some key forces which are likely to affect the future of OD. So, the future of organizational development has been described by Cummins and Worley that there are some factors like economy, workforce, technology, and organizations. So, what they said is, according to them, the trends in the economy are towards more concentrated wealth. So the trends in the economy are towards more concentrated wealth, and it has increased globalization and greater ecological concern. Has a greater ecological concern. So the workforce in the United States is becoming more diverse, more educated, more contingent, and also it has become older with the diminished birth rate, which has been contributed few that the fewer young people will be used for this workforce. Okay, and when you come with the technology, it is driving the productivity in the organizations through e-commerce. So here, e-commerce exists in many forms, and also the technology is allowing more and more outsourcing and telecommunication. So this the organizations are becoming more network based as well as knowledge based also. So that is about the technology. So according to these four factors are being set by Cummins and Orley, Worley, Orley. So according to Orley, and what he said is there are various trends which used to affect the organizational development, and in several ways they used to affect that. These organizational development practices will become organizational culture. You can see in the next slide, it will be very easy to you, that more diverse in the client organizations, that the people who are practicing organizational development will need to be, they need to adapt more technology, and they must be ready to deliver cycle times. Okay, it may be shorter or longer cycle time. They must be prepared for that. And also, the organizational development practitioners will need to be more focused on innovation and learning. Innovation and learning. So these are the more familiar things which they provide a wide array of disciples, and they guide their practice, they guide them through the practice and the behavior. See, these are the factors. One is economy, workforce, technology, and organizations. And these used to affect on the organization's development, like more embedded in the organization's operations, and it is more technologically enabled, more interdisciplinary, more diverse in client organizations, and more cross cultural, and the other one is more concerned with ecological sustainability. So these are the factors which tries to affect the organizational development in terms of these six areas. One is organizational operations, embedded enabled technology, interdisciplinary, more diverse in client organizations, cross-cultural and ecological sustainability. Okay, so these are the factors which have been outlined. One is economy, workforce, technology, and organization. So these outlined with the following implications. These are some of the implications of organizational development according to the factors that we have discussed now. One is economy, workforce, technology, and organizations. Now, let us see in detail about the implications of organization development. So, the first implication is the organizational development will be more embedded in the organization's operation. That is, as the global economy and information technology, it has been enabled and push up faster. There are more flexible organizations that have the ability to manage change continuously to become or to have a competitive advantage. Many organizations are competing. Yeah. So this organizational development it used to suggest that the skill, knowledge, and competencies of the organizational practitioners will become more embedded in the organization's normal operating routines. So it means that this used to diffuse the change capabilities. This used to diffuse the change capabilities throughout the organization rather than limiting them for only special functions or role. Limiting them for special functions or the roles. So it will permit very faster and more flexible reactions to the challenges. So this organizational development interventions, they themselves will be integrated into the core business processes like product development, strategic planning, and also order fulfillment. So this should provide a clear linkage between organizational development and business results. And business results. And the coming to the next implication, organizational development processes will be more technologically enabled. It means that in the global organizations, the members can work in a variety of locations, variety of cultures, as well as time zones also. So, when this OD interventions have such team building, employee involvement, and also the strategic change and also the strategic change. So this will have been planned and implemented in the ways that try to encourage for more contributions from a variety of stakeholders. More contributions from a variety of stakeholders at times which are being more convenient and also which have a creative ideas that are being emerged. And we have discussed about this in information technology. Information technology in the sense like emails, it used to enable the members of the organization to make these contributions at any time whenever they are ready. At any time whenever they are ready. So, in addition to all these things, there are also groupware technologies which allows the members of the organization to discuss the key issues in chat rooms or in portals in through by using internet with the help of video conferences or in web and also the more traditional telephone conferences and more traditional through telephone conferences also. So, as a result, the process of organizational development is likely to change. For example, using the technology, if you use the technology in exchanging of ideas or in exchanging of policies or decide on change processes, this will produce different types of group dynamics. This used to produce different types of group dynamics from those which are being founded in face to face meetings, which are being founded in face to face meetings. Okay, and the next implication is organizational development will be more interdisciplinary. It is that this organizational development will continue to become more interdisciplinary, and also they used to rely on different perspectives. They used to rely on different perspectives and approaches to develop and also to change the organizations. To develop and also to change the organizations. So historically, when you speak this, the main focus of organizational development is expanded from small groups and social process to the organizational structures and also work designs and also work design. So this is when you speak historical. But now recently you need to change with the help of strategic and global social change. Strategic and global social change. So, along the way, there are different disciplines which were being applied as an organizational development practice. It means that including the organizational theory, including the industrial engineering, labor relations, and also the comparative management. So all these forms a corporate strategy. All these used to form a corporate strategy. So technology, workforce, diversity, and other trends are broadening through the mainly broadened on the focus of organizational development, and they further used to make other social sciences more relevant in a planned change. And the next one is organizational development will be applied to more diverse organization. That is, the changes which are being occurred in the organizational development context. It used to suggest that in future, it used to suggest that in future, the planned change will be applied to a more diverse client base, So traditionally, this organizational development focuses on large business organization. It used to focus on only large business organizations, but there are some other types of organizations which used to increase this planned change, like small entrepreneurial startups or government organizations and global social change organizations. So, what they used to do, they used to try to increase the targets of the planned change. So there are small entrepreneurial startups. So these are very important, and these are underserved market for organizational development. Why? Because these businesses, they operate on scarce and finite venture capital. They used to operate on finite venture capital, and time is also most valuable asset for them, and there are also most critical things for their critical aspects are there for their success, that is small entrepreneurial startups. So as a result, that the entrepreneurial firms, they generally have a clear action orientation. They used to have a clear action orientation and little perceived need to reflect as well as to learn, And there are few structures and the systems which used to guide the behavior as well as the decisions, So these entrepreneurs are not linked to think about that they have been trained to examine these issues. They have been trained to examine these issues. So this organizational development can help them to gain needed competencies to address such matters. And the next one is organizational development will become more cross cultural. That it is that as organizations and the economy used to become more global, the recent growth of the organizational development practice is international, and the cross cultural situations used to continue. So, when you speak with this one traditionally, the organizational development has been practiced in the organizations within the specific cultures. If you take an example that the British trained organizational development practitioners, they used to help the British organizations in Great Britain. And if the Mexican organizational development practitioners helped Latin American organizations and so on. In this way, it used to be there. So, but the current trends, they used to clearly point out that the need for organizational development applications, which used to take the work across various cultures. It used to take the work across various cultures. So the team building interventions need to be modified to help the team, which is composed of Americans, Indians, Chinese, Korean, and Canadians and French. So these are all countries have met face to face, but these are charged with developing a new product in a short period of time. So, what all these thought were, they used to brought up a new product with a short period of time. So, the merger and the acquisition process needs to be adapted to help Japanese and US firm to implement a new organizational structure that honors both the cultures, that used to honor both the cultures. So that is cross cultural interventions. Okay. And the next one is organizational development will focus more on ecological sustainability. Ecological sustainability. That is, this organizational development will become increasingly concerned with the ecological sustainability. That is, there are the limits to the world's ecosystem, including the capacity to observe the population growth, function with a depleted ozone layer, and to operate with polluted waters. And also, it used to provide serious challenges to the traditional business model. It used to provide the serious challenges to the traditional business model. So, this organizational development interventions use it to promote ecological sustainability, and they are just being developed. They are just being developed. So, the natural step, for example, if you take the proposes a set of guidelines for development as well as the process of change which used to align with an organizational development perspectives. So these are the various implications of organization development. Now let us see how what are the future directions of organizational directions in organizational development. So the future directions, or we call it as trends also. The future directions, or you call it as trends. Trends of organizational development are organizational transformation, shared vision, innovation, trust, empowerment, learning organization, re-engineering, core competencies, organizational architecture. So these are the future trends or directions in organizational development. Now let us see one by one. The first one is organizational transformation. We call it as OT. So this recent advancement in the change strategies is used in situations of drastic change when the organization's survival is at stake. So when the organization's survival is at stake, the recent advances is the change in strategies. This used to make the situations more drastic, and also the abrupt change has been done in the organizational survival, which is at stake. So these situations include, what are the situations? So like mergers, product changes, takeovers, and plant closures. So these are some of the things which often involve large scale layoffs and also restructuring restructuring. For example, ICICI. If you take that, it has undergone organizational transformation to reach for reaching close to the customers, and it used to have made a huge investment in technology to make ICICI Bank a technology-led operations. Okay, so that is organizational transformation. And the other one is shared vision. This approach to the organizational change involves getting all levels of management to identify the strategic vision of future and also various ways to fulfill that vision. For example, Tata Steel believes that the real purpose of industry is the betterment of people. So what this Tata Steel believes that the real purpose of industry is the betterment of people, that is employees. So it has a shared vision for the company. It has a shared vision for the company. So the vision of Tata Steel Group in the next year is the vision is to co-create by its people across its various locations from Jamshedpur in India. So this is the vision of 2021. So also to the United Kingdom, Jamshedpur in India, and United Kingdom, to Southeast Asia and also Netherlands. So the shared vision of this global entity is that the Tata Steel Group is to become a world steel industry which has a benchmark in value creation and also corporate citizenship So other example that Alt Foods, it is a large Canadian dairy company, and it is also a good example for shared vision in action. And the other one is innovation. Organizations, they are mainly focusing more effort on innovation. That is, when you create a new product or goods and services, and on new ways of organizing and relating among the organization members. For example, the Indian companies like LZ India, Wipro, ICICI, these have energized a innovation culture and employees driven change. So also these it also used to promote innovative culture. Organizations need to measure and reward the employees, and organizations need to measure and reward the employees for innovation related activities. Innovation related activities. So the Procter and Gamble, P&G, Procter and Gamble also has made innovation central to its strategy, and it has integrated innovation into the personal goal setting, as a personal goal setting, and also the reward system. So there are various global innovation centers such as 3M and Google. So they all these allows their employees to spend some of their office time on projects that specifically they are interested. And the next one is trust. The other one is trust. That is the critical factor in changing the organization is the development of trust within the individuals and also between the individuals, teams, and organizational units, and also at various levels. This used to develop a trust. And the next one is empowerment. In order to develop high performing systems, the organization members must be empowered. They must be empowered by giving them the autonomy to do things on their own way, and to achieve recognition, involvement, and also a sense of worth in their jobs. And also a sense of worth in their jobs. So this allows for member ownership of ideas and strategies for buy-in management. For example, if you take Infosys, it is among the top companies which used to inspire, nurture, and empower a new generation of global leaders. It used to empower a new generation of global leaders. And the next one is learning organizations. It is a conceptual framework for the organization of future of future. That is, the learning organizations is the notion that learning is central to success. Learning is central to success. For example, Nokia was first started in 19th century in Finland as a pulp mill. It has started as a pulp mill, and it has metamorphosed into a giant multinational which is well known for its mobile phone handset. Well known for its mobile phone handset. So the another example of learning organizations is General Electrical. It has started as the bulbs and household gadgets, and it has changed it into a multinational organization that has interest in finance, chemicals, and other nuclear technologies nuclear technologies. And the next one is re-engineering. So this fundamental rethinking and radical redesigning of business systems, it used to urge to examine job designs, organizational structure, and also management systems. It means that the work should be organized around outcomes but not tasks or functions. So work should be organized around the outcomes. It is not that like a task or some function. For example, if you take Verizon Communications, it is the largest phone company in the United States, and it have re-engineered the process used to implement the telephone services to the new customers. Used to implement the telephone services to the new customers. And the next one is Core competencies. The idea is for the companies to identify and organize around what they do best. Around what they do best. That is, the corporate strategy should be based not on products and markets, but on competencies which have given a company access to several markets, and also they are different for competitors to imitate. They are different for competitors to imitate. That is called core competency. It is not that the corporate strategies is not getting some products and services, but the competency that they give a company access to the several markets which are very difficult for competitors to imitate. For the competitors to imitate, that is called core competency. And the next one is organizational architecture. This is a metaphor which used to the forces managers to think more broadly. The metaphor that forces the managers to think more broadly about their organization in terms of how work, people, and formal and informal structures they used to fit together. They used to fit together. So this often leads to autonomous work teams as well as the strategic alliances. So these are some of the future directions, or we call it as trends also in organizational development. Okay, so with this, we'd like to conclude today's session. Okay, ma. Thank you. Thank you, 100.